You are not my wife." The words left my mouth like a blade I never intended to draw. The moment they reached your ears, I wanted them back. The palace fell silent. The golden lights of the grand hall shimmered above us as if nothing had changed, but everything inside me had already shattered. You didn't cry. Somehow, that hurt even more. You simply looked at me with those quiet eyes that had always seen far more than I ever allowed anyone to see. "I know," you whispered. "I've always known." Your voice carried no anger, only exhaustion. I stood frozen. For months, the entire kingdom had assumed we were destined to marry. Every newspaper had already written the story. Every diplomat referred to you as my future queen. Every servant inside the palace smiled whenever we entered the same room. The world had already decided our future. No one had asked us, least of all, you. "I never wanted to embarrass you," I said quietly. You didn't. You just told the truth. The honesty in your voice shattered every defense I had built around my heart. I should have spoken sooner. Wes, I thought I was protecting everyone, and who protected us? I had no answer. The truth was painfully simple. I respected you. I admired you. I trusted you with my life. But love refused to appear simply because the kingdom demanded it. Every royal advisor repeated the same sentence. Affection will come after marriage. Perhaps for some people it did. For me, it never would. I walked toward the tall palace window overlooking Dubai. The city glittered beneath us, endless lights stretching across the desert like fallen stars. An entire kingdom waited for announcements that would never come. I refused to marry you because tradition expects it. You slowly joined me beside the window. And if tradition condemns you, then let it. And if the people lose faith in their prince, I would rather lose their admiration than build a marriage upon a lie. For the first time that evening, you smiled, a small, bittersweet smile. "That is the most honest thing you've ever said to me." Silence settled between us, not awkward, not cruel, simply honest. I spent months wondering what I had done wrong. You admitted. You did nothing wrong. I changed everything about myself. I noticed. I wore the colors you liked. I learned the poetry you admired. I even pretended to enjoy those endless desert rides. I couldn't help laughing softly. You hated every minute. I truly did. We both laughed. Then the laughter faded as quickly as it had come. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "So am I." You deserve a husband who looks at you as though the entire world begins and ends with your smile. And you deserve the freedom to wait for a love that feels real. I looked at you carefully. You don't hate me. I thought I would. But how could I hate someone for refusing to lie? The palace bells echoed across Dubai. A new hour had begun. So had a new chapter of our lives. "I hope one day," I said quietly, "someone loves you exactly the way you deserve." You looked toward the moon rising above the palace gardens. "And I hope one day you forgive yourself for believing honesty is cruelty." You turned and walked toward the grand doors. Just before leaving, you stopped. Without looking back, you spoke one final sentence. "You were right. I'm not your wife, but thank you for never making me become one through obligation alone." The doors closed behind you. I remained alone in the vast palace. The kingdom would judge me. The newspapers would rewrite our story. The council would question my decision. But for the first time in many months, I could finally breathe. Because sometimes the kindest words a prince can speak are also the most painful. And sometimes The greatest act of love is refusing to promise a heart that was never yours to give. The morning after our conversation, the palace no longer felt like home. The corridors were the same. The marble floors still reflected the sunlight pouring through the towering windows. Servants bowed as I passed. The royal guard saluted without hesitation. Nothing had changed, yet somehow, everything had. News travels through a palace faster than the desert wind. By breakfast, every servant knew the engagement had ended. By noon, every minister had heard a different version of the story. By evening, the entire kingdom of Al-Noor believed I had humiliated the woman everyone already called their future queen. The newspapers were merciless. The prince breaks a promised future. A royal love story ends before it begins. Some claimed I had become arrogant. Others insisted there was another woman. The truth was far less dramatic. There had never been another woman. There had only been honesty. That afternoon, the royal council gathered in the Hall of Falcons. 20 ministers waited around the long cedar table. No one smiled. Prime Minister Karim spoke first. "Your Highness, the kingdom demands an explanation. The kingdom deserves the truth." "I agree." Every face turned toward me. "Then tell them she refused you." Another minister suggested. "It will protect the crown." I looked at him steadily. "She did nothing wrong." "Then say you discovered she was unsuitable." My jaw tightened. "No." "Why?" "Because she is honorable." The room fell silent. "If I protect my reputation by destroying hers, I do not deserve either." An older advisor leaned forward. "Then the people will blame you." I nodded once. Perhaps they should. Days turned into weeks. The palace grew quieter. I buried myself in work. Trade agreements, hospital visits, military inspections, charity foundations. Every hour was filled with duty. Yet every evening, my thoughts returned to the same question. Was she happy? Not because I wished to reclaim what we had never truly possessed, but because I genuinely hoped freedom had brought her peace. One evening, my sister found me standing alone in the royal gardens. "You miss her?" "I miss knowing she's all right." "Why don't you ask?" I smiled sadly. "Because some acts of kindness must happen from a distance." She studied me for a long moment. "You really loved her?"